The P in our figurative language acronym of I shampoo is personification. And personification gives human traits to non-human things. One example that I wrote was, the sky flashed in anger. So you can imagine that this is probably lightning, and so the flash is showing anger, which is a human trait, obviously not in the sky. Here's an example from literature. This is a poem called My Town by Sharon Hendrick, and it says, "The leaves on the ground danced in the wind, the brook sang merrily as it went on its way." So the leaves are dancing, which is a human trait. Leaves don't actually dance. And the brook sang merrily. The water doesn't actually sing. But this adds depth to what you're writing. It's a lot more interesting than the water was moving quickly or something like that. This gives personality to these things. And just as a side note, I have a slash right here, and that's because this is a poem and these are two separate lines. This is a line and this is a line, but because I ran out of room to write down here, I had to put a slash just to mark that there were two different lines of poetry there. Here's another example from poetry, which poetry is, it uses figurative language all the time. It is kind of its own kind of figurative language. And this is Walden by Henry David Thoreau, who is a very famous poet. "These are the lips of the lake, on which no beard grows. It licks its chops from time to time." So this is saying the lake is a man who has lips and it doesn't have a beard, and the lake is licking its mouth. Obviously, it's not really doing those things, but it helps to paint a picture of what Henry David Thoreau saw when he was writing this poem. And one last example is a poem by Emily Dickinson, and these are the first lines of the poem, and it's actually also the title of the poem. "Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me." First of all, we're using the pronoun he for death, and she also capitalized death as in that's the person's name. So anyway, this entire poem, "Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me," is a personification the entire way through of the idea of dying, or maybe the Grim Reaper. She's giving death human characteristics, and so this poem is personification.